or as you say in Kiswahili, asante. Tafadhali.
Honorable Chairman, the Right Honorable Stephen Harper, Honorable Deputy Chairman, Mr. David McAllister, the Honorary Chairman, Lord Ashcroft, Honorable Assistant Chairman and Vice Chairman and Women, Honorable Secretary General, Mr. Christian Kartner, Honorable Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Tina Merchep, members and officers of the IDU family worldwide, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Honorable Chairman, they say a year in politics is an awfully long time. If that is the case, then 3 years must be an eternity. It has certainly seemed so to me personally and to my party, Chadema, if not to my beloved country of Tanzania. This time 3 years ago, I was in a Nairobi, Kenya hospital trying to survive the bloody consequences of an assassination attempt in which I was shot 16 times. I lay unconscious for 6 days, and in the weeks and months that followed, I underwent 24 surgeries and ended up with a crooked arm and one leg 7 centimeters shorter. 3 years down the line, and I provided the roar of the whole people in a general campaign that was unprecedented in its energy, support, and the hope that it gave to millions of Tanzanians. Hardly 5 days after what was supposed to be that general election, I was forced to seek the protection of the German embassy in Tanzania, a victim of death threats from the same forces that had tried to kill me in September of 2017. And now, officially in exile, I am a recipient of the Bush-Thatcher Award for Freedom, the highest honor bestowed on an individual or party by the IDU worldwide family, named after 2 illustrious leaders of 2 of the world's oldest surviving democracies. 2 such events would be enough for a lifetime. Happy is the man to whom it is granted to get one such lucky break. But I have been involved not in 1 or 2, but in many such lucky breaks during this one ongoing lifetime. I have slept on concrete floors of slimy police jails, and I have been elected president of my country's National Bar Association by my professional peers. I have been through the darkest bottom of the valley of the shadow of death, and I have ascended the shiny peaks of life at its sweetest. How awfully long is 3 years in politics. Honorable Chairman, for 5 years, our party, Chadema, like our country generally, has been subjected to the sternest of tests that any lawful and democratic organization could be subjected to. Our party leaders, members, and activists have been extrajudicially killed, murdered in cold blood, or abducted and disappeared in the manner of the Latin American military dictatorships of decades past. Many have been tortured in police dungeons and in secret torture chambers operated by the intelligence and security apparatus of the Magufuli regime. Others, like me, have sustained life-threatening injuries from assassins or police violence and been maimed for life. Yet many others have been unlawfully arrested, held in police cells or jails for lengthy periods of time, or persecuted in the courts of law on completely bogus charges. And that is to say nothing of the continuing efforts to destroy Chadema through more covert but no less pernicious methods, such as the bribery of its leaders and officials and the instigation of divisions amongst its leadership and the rank and file. In short, our party and nation has been subjected to physical and psychological trauma, the like of which is without precedent in our entire history. But we have not only survived these terrible trials and tribulations. Despite, or perhaps because of these privations, we have actually thrived. Because of the 5 years of the prohibition of lawful political activity for parties other than the dictatorships, we were forced to dig deep into the country's political soil, building a grassroots party organization of incomparable strength, depth, and vitality. Thus, as a result of this party organization, in the local elections that were scheduled for November of last year, we were able to field candidates in over 90% of the positions in contest, the first time in nearly 3 decades of our existence. The dictatorship was forced to use its control of the electoral machinery to disqualify almost all our candidates, with the result that there were no local elections countrywide for the first time in our history. Similarly, in what should have been the general elections last month, Chadema was able to field candidates in roughly 95% of the local government council positions on offer, and in 92% of the parliamentary constituencies contested. And in spite of the mass disqualification of our parliamentary and civic candidates during the nomination process, we were able to campaign like we have never campaigned before. We were able to draw the support of millions of Tanzanians from all walks of life with our clarion call of freedom, justice, and people-centered development. And such was our appeal that the dictatorship had to rely on the armed forces, the security and intelligence apparatus, and the political and administrative machinery of the state to hijack the general elections to ensure the regime remains in power. Which is to say, like what happened in the local elections the year before, we did not have real general elections last month precisely because of the party's organizational strength. And so, Honorable Chairman, please allow me to thank my wife, Alicia, and our beloved sons, Agostino Lissu and Edward Bulali, who could not be here with me today on account of the COVID-19 restrictions, for their selfless love, unremitting patience, and total commitment, even as they bore the brunt of these terribly difficult years for the family. Just to give you an idea of what we have gone through as a family, since September 2017, this month we will have our Christmas family reunion, the first time in 4 years. Allow me to also congratulate my fellow leaders and members of Chadema and the millions of Tanzanians who have rallied to our banner during these difficult years. For this historic achievement, this award is as rightly theirs as it is mine. Honorable Chairman, this award is a vindication of our people's struggles for democracy and of the immense sacrifices that I, personally, and my colleagues in the leadership of the party, as well as our members, activists, and supporters, have made at huge cost in life, limb, liberty, and property. Consequently, I dedicate the award to them all, but especially to those who, like Alphonse Mawazo, the former regional chairman for Geita, hacked to death with machetes in November of 2015, and Ben Saanane, the personal assistant to our national chairman, abducted and disappeared in November of 2016, who paid the ultimate price in defense of the ideals for which the Bush-Thatcher Award for Freedom was created. Honorable Chairman, as I said in a virtual press conference last week, having stolen this October's general elections so blatantly and given his track record, Magufuli can offer nothing to us but more force, violence, and repression. We must, therefore, brace ourselves for the very difficult and bitter days ahead. We must prepare our party and our people for resistance against that force, violence, and repression. Frederick Douglass, the great African-American abolitionist and social reformer of the 19th century, said, "The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress." Our ability to resist the Magufuli tyranny will depend much on how we consolidate the grassroots party that we have built during these difficult years of repression. Much will also depend on international solidarity. In its Declaration of Principles of 1983, the IDU committed itself to advancing the social and political values on which democratic societies are founded, including the right of free speech, organization, assembly, and non-violent dissent, the right to free elections and the freedom to organize effective parliamentary opposition to government, the right to a free and independent media, the right to religious belief, equality before the law, and individual opportunity and prosperity. These values have been under sustained attack during these 5 years of the Magufuli dictatorship. We are gratified that in its public statement of 2nd November, the IDU and Democratic Union of Africa have denounced the fraudulent election of 28th October as illegitimate and described the process leading up to it as falling well below the acceptable international standards for free, fair, participatory, peaceful, transparent, accountable, and credible elections. Now, we must ask our sister parties and friendly governments around the world to stand with the people of Tanzania in their struggle to end this most significant regression of democracy in our country's history, and to hold those responsible for it accountable. This award, an international recognition of that struggle and an acknowledgement of our personal and collective sacrifices, is an important first step in that direction. It must not be the last. Rather, it must be followed by more concrete actions of solidarity with Chadema and with the people of Tanzania. To paraphrase Frederick Douglass again, the feeling of the world must be quickened, the conscience of the world must be roused, the propriety of the world must be startled, the hypocrisy of the Magufuli tyranny must be exposed, and its crimes against the people of Tanzania must be proclaimed and denounced. And so, please allow me, on behalf of my family and on behalf of my colleagues in Chadema and the people of Tanzania generally, to thank you, Honorable Chairman, the entire leadership team, and the IDU family worldwide for the honor of being the second recipient of the Bush-Thatcher Award for Freedom.